The crystal chandelier glowed warmly over the mahogany dining table, its light flickering across silver cutlery polished to a mirror shine. For 32 Christmas dinners, I'd sat in this same chair, watching my father carve the turkey with the precision of a surgeon and the authority of a king. But tonight felt different. There was a static in the air, an unspoken tension that made my mother fuss with her pearls and my brothers trade loaded glances. I smoothed the sleeve of my plain black sweater and took a deliberate bite of mashed potatoes, savoring the comfort of my mother's cooking as if it were armor. My phone buzzed quietly in my purse. I ignored it. Whatever Forbes needed could wait. "Sarah," my father said at last, laying down the carving knife as though it were a gavel, "there's something important we must discuss as a family." Michael and David straightened instantly. Their wives perked up like expectant jurors. My nephews even looked up from their phones, curiosity flickering in their eyes. "Of course, Dad," I murmured, lifting my glass of water. He cleared his throat, the familiar prelude to pronouncements that altered the course of our lives. "I've finalized my will. Your mother and I have decided how the estate will be divided." The crackle of the nearby fireplace filled the silence. "The businesses, properties, investments, they'll go to Michael and David," he declared, voice grave with finality. "They've proven themselves capable of carrying the legacy." I simply nodded, cutting another piece of turkey. "I understand." My mother leaned forward, her tone rehearsed in false kindness. "Sweetheart, it's not that we don't love you. You've just chosen a different path. That little computer job, your small apartment, you've never cared about real business." Michael adjusted his designer tie like a crown. "Dad's right. The construction company requires contracts, negotiations, expansion. Jennifer and I have been preparing for this for years." David chimed in smoothly. "And the restaurant chain needs hands-on management, staff, vendors, multiple locations. Not exactly your wheelhouse." I took a sip of Bordeaux, a vintage I had quietly added to their cellar last month, though none of them knew. "You're right," I said evenly. "I wouldn't know the first thing about running businesses like that." Relief softened my father's sternness. "I'm glad you see it clearly. You'll have a modest trust fund, 50,000, enough to keep you comfortable." Jennifer smiled as though she'd won something. "It really is for the best. Michael and I are already planning expansions. We want to buy that new development downtown." Patricia's eyes gleamed. "The Harborview Residences. David says it's a gold mine." I nearly choked on my wine. Harborview, the project I owned through my firm, the project that cleared $30 million in profits last quarter. "That does sound promising," I replied smoothly. From the far end of the table, Jake frowned at his phone. "Wait, isn't that the building where Aunt Sarah's company?" "Sarah doesn't own a company," Michael cut in sharply. "She just does some computer work for other people." I smiled at my nephew. "That's right, just coding." My purse buzzed again, my assistant Emma's name flashing insistently, likely about the European merger, or the pharmaceutical acquisition. Either way, it could wait. My father lifted his glass, to family, and to the future of the business. Crystal clinked. Everyone drank except me. "Sarah," my mother urged, "the toast." "Oh, sorry," I raised my glass lightly, "to family." David leaned back, smug. "Maybe this will push you to settle down, find a husband. You shouldn't be living alone in that cramped apartment, working yourself to death on computers." My mother tried to hush him, though her eyes betrayed agreement. I only smiled, my glass catching the chandelier's glow. I said, "Carving another piece of turkey. 32 isn't old, but maybe it's time I thought about my future more seriously." My phone buzzed again in my purse. Emma was persistent. Whatever it was, it could wait. In the Thompson household, nothing interrupted Dad's decrees. Across the table, Tommy, 19, home from Harvard, was scrolling absent-mindedly when he froze mid-swipe. His eyes widened, darting from his phone to me and back. Aunt Sarah?" "Yes, sweetheart?" He hesitated, voice cracking. "I just got a news alert. Forbes released the updated billionaire list." No one looked up. Jennifer was busy cutting his turkey into pieces, offering a distracted, "That's nice, honey." But Tommy wasn't listening. His hand trembled as he read. "There's someone on here, with your name." That got attention. Conversation slowed. My mother tilted her head. What do you mean, darling? Tommy lifted his phone like it weighed 100 pounds. Sarah Thompson. Number 47. Net worth, he swallowed. $3.8 billion. The table went silent. Even the fire seemed to hush. David laughed too loudly. Different Sarah Thompson. Common name. But Tommy's gaze was locked on me now. It says she's the founder and CEO of Quantum Dynamics. From our city. 32 years old. And, he turned the phone so the table could see. She looks exactly like Aunt Sarah. Every fork froze mid-air. My father's face drained of color. That's impossible. I calmly took another bite of turkey. Is it? Michael snatched the phone, scanning furiously. Jennifer leaned in, gasping. The photo, it's her. My mother's pearls twisted under her fingers. Sarah, is this some kind of joke? I set my fork down, dabbed my mouth with a napkin. What would you like to know? David grabbed the phone next, reading aloud. Found it 8 years ago, from a small downtown apartment. Just a laptop and a few $1,000s. My apartment, I said. The room erupted, questions, protests, disbelief. This can't be real, my father stammered. You've always worked for someone else. You never asked. Michael was scrolling wildly now. There are dozens of articles. Forbes, Fortune, The Wall Street Journal, all about you. Patricia leaned over his shoulder, her voice faltering. It says Quantum Dynamics revolutionized healthcare AI, acquired 3 pharmaceutical giants. I nodded. That's correct. My father leaned in, his authority cracked. Why didn't you tell us? When was I supposed to? Last Christmas, when David explained to me how real business works, or at Michael's birthday dinner, when Jennifer suggested I find a man to support me? Silence. Tommy spoke again, softly this time. It says here you donated $50 million to children's hospitals, and you're building the Morrison Cancer Research Center. I smiled faintly. It opens next spring. My mother's pearls clattered nervously. But you live in that tiny apartment. You drive that old Honda. I like where I live, and the Honda runs just fine. Michael lowered the phone, his hands trembling. Sarah, if this is true, if you're really worth billions, then what? I asked quietly. The words hung in the air like smoke, suffocating. My father, who had spent the evening declaring me unfit to inherit his construction company and restaurant chain, now stared at a daughter whose wealth eclipsed his empire 1,000 times over. David's voice cracked. We had no way of knowing. Didn't you? I asked. Did you ever wonder how I afforded a downtown apartment without roommates? Why I never worried about money? Why I never asked you for help? Jennifer's cheeks burned red. You let us believe you were struggling. I never said that. You assumed it, because I didn't flaunt it. My father, now on his own phone, paled further. His voice trembled. Sarah, this says Quantum Dynamics just acquired Thompson Industries. The room fell silent again. Thompson Industries, my mother whispered, as if naming a ghost. I sipped my wine. A modest construction and restaurant group. The name felt appropriate. Michael's face drained of color. You bought Dad's companies? Technically, my investment firm acquired them. You needed capital for expansion. I provided it. My father's voice cracked. You've been our silent partner for 6 months. Silent investor, I corrected. I prefer the background. David scrolled frantically on his phone. Sarah, there are photos here, charity galas, summits, meetings with world leaders. How did we miss all of this? I go by my middle name professionally, Sarah Elizabeth Thompson, and I don't linger at local events. Patricia blinked, confused. But why let us think? Think what? My voice sharpened. That I was a failure? That I needed your advice? That I was the family disappointment? The words cut through the air like glass. Jake, still scrolling, looked up with awe. Aunt Sarah, this says you're one of the youngest self-made billionaires in history. You built Quantum Dynamics while working 2 jobs in college. I nodded. Coffee shop shifts. Freelance coding at night. My mother was crying now, her pearls twisting endlessly in her hands. Sarah, honey, we didn't know. I know. My father set his phone down with trembling fingers. The inheritance discussion was reasonable. Of course, you're dividing assets between the children best prepared to handle them. Michael's voice broke. But, we just told you you're unfit to inherit. That you don't deserve. And I agreed. I'm not qualified to run restaurants or construction firms. But you own them, David said weakly. Through a management company. I attend board meetings. That's not the same as daily operations. Dinner had gone cold, the feast untouched. Jennifer's voice wavered. Harborview Residences. The condos downtown, you own them? Yes. Meridian Development is one of my firms. Silence thundered. Tommy, unable to stop reading, broke it. This article says you're leading sustainable housing projects. 5 developments now. Correct. The 5th broke ground yesterday. My father looked around the table, then back at me. His voice was raw. Sarah, I owe you an apology. For what? For underestimating you. For dismissing your work. For assuming. Dad, I set down my glass. You don't owe me anything. You made choices with the information you had. I never corrected you. Michael leaned forward, desperate. But why? Why keep this secret from us? I considered, then answered simply. Because I liked having one place where I could just be Sarah. Not a CEO. Not a billionaire. Just your daughter. Your sister. Your aunt. Patricia whispered. But we don't. Love me? I asked softly. No. You loved the idea of me, the daughter who needed fixing. Who made you feel accomplished. Not the woman actually sitting here. Tears ran freely down my mother's face. That's not true. We love you. I tilted my head. Then why was I the one you overlooked, belittled, dismissed? I hid my work, not myself. I'm still the sister who helped you study. David, the sister who taught you coding. Michael, the aunt who babysat, remembered birthdays, never missed a family gathering. The weight of truth pressed the table into silence. My phone buzzed again. This time, I pulled it out. Emma's message flashed. Merger approved. Need signature by midnight. Pharma acquisition finalized, $2. 3B transfer confirmed. I typed back, send docs to my apartment. I'll sign tonight. When I looked up, they were all staring. Work, my father asked. Just closing a couple acquisitions. Nothing urgent. Jennifer blinked. A couple acquisitions, like you're buying groceries. Different scale. Same principle. I smiled. Tommy's eyes shone. Aunt Sarah, this says your biggest regret is not spending more time with family. But, we never made time for you. You made time for the version of me you understood. My father began to pace, his voice unsteady. Sarah, the things we said tonight, the way we judged you, were based on what you knew. I don't blame you. Michael's voice was hushed. But we blame ourselves. I looked around the table, really seeing them, my father, my mother, my brothers, their wives, their children, the family that never asked. I have a proposition, I said at last. Every head lifted. We finish dinner, dessert, gifts, then we start over. Start over? My mother echoed. Yes, you get to know the real me, and I'll finally see who you are, when you're not looking down on the daughter you thought was struggling. My father sank back into his chair, defeated yet hopeful. Sarah, how do we even begin to make this right? You don't. You just decide, do you want a relationship with me, or with the illusion you preferred? A long silence. Then Jake's voice broke through. Aunt Sarah, can you tell me about your AI work? I'm majoring in comp sci. What you built it's groundbreaking. I smiled. Genuinely this time. I'd love to. Tommy added shyly. And the cancer center. I want to go pre-med. Could you tell us about that? Of course. My father's eyes glistened with something new, respect. Would you tell us your story, all of it? 8 years of building a company will take a while. We have time, my mother said quickly. I nodded. Then let's. But first, this dinner deserves to be enjoyed. And Dad? Yes? That inheritance should go to Michael and David. They know the business is best. That's exactly how it should be. David looked stunned. But you could buy and sell them 100 times over. Which is why I don't need them. You do. My father's voice broke. Sarah. I'm proud to be your father. I reached across the table, meeting his eyes. And I'm proud to be your daughter. I picked up my fork. Now, Who wants to hear about the time I accidentally revolutionized medical diagnostics while trying to build a better scheduling app? For the first time in years, they listened, really listened. The Forbes list had changed everything and nothing. I was still Sarah Thompson. But now, finally, they had the chance to love me back. All of me. We talked until past midnight, laughter and tears replacing silence. By the time I drove back to my little downtown apartment in my faithful Honda, I felt lighter than I had in years. Tomorrow, I would continue building the future. But tonight, I had built something far rarer, the beginnings of a family who finally saw me. And that, I thought as I parked, was worth more than any ranking in the world.